You're watching Las Vegas One. News and information 24/7.
The multi-billion-dollar hole in Nevada's budget is growing. The hike in the room tax covers just a fraction of the deficit. What's the gaming industry's poison of choice to balance the budget? We'll ask Wynn Resorts Chief Executive Steve Wynn about that and more in the second of a two-part interview. That's all next on Face to Face.
Tough questions, direct answers. This is Face to Face with John Ralston.
Welcome to Face to Face. I'm John Ralston. The threat of an increase in the gaming tax prompted some hotel owners to rally for a hike in their room tax. But with a growing deficit, room rates plummeting, and the fate of upcoming projects in question, was it the right answer? Here to talk about that and more, including some national politics, in the second of a two-part interview, Wynn Resorts CEO Steve Wynn. All right, Mr. Wynn, now it's time to talk some politics with you. I know you have some strong feelings. You were a big supporter of this room tax compromise, which, from my perspective, when you made it, was a great deal for the gaming industry. They were trying to hike the gaming tax by 3 percentage points. You go for a room tax instead. Do you still think that was a good deal?
Well, let's get the record straight. I went for the room tax because you know that my family, Elaine and I, for the past 15 or 20 years, have been strong advocates and staunch supporters of education. It's an abysmal story in our state. It needs to be changed. It's an abysmal story in America. It needs to be changed. The room tax was earmarked for teachers. I thought it was the right thing to do, and I wanted the gaming industry to show leadership in that matter, because after all, it is the children of our employees.
But also, you didn't want the gaming tax raised.
That was my position. The school teachers had realized that that was a false start, that the gaming industry couldn't absorb that tax, that it would have resulted in massive unemployment. The truth of the matter is that the lady in charge of the teachers union and other responsible people involved had realized that it was a ill-conceived idea, and is still an ill-conceived idea. And so it wasn't to get the teachers to drop their initiative. It was because I thought it was a great opportunity for us to step forward and define ourselves to the other citizens in the state. A lot of times gaming gets a reputation for being a spoiler. You know, we have lobbyists, like our lobbyists aren't near as good as mining or labor or the banks, but nevertheless we get stuck with that label, and I didn't think that was the right label. And I thought, here was a moment. Here was a legitimate moment for us to define ourselves properly. We need to fix education in the state of Nevada, period.
Yeah, but you're not paying this. The gaming tax you pay, the room tax you guys don't.
We do pay.
You don't pay it? How do you pay it?
Well, first of all, people buy our hotel rooms based upon what it costs them to stay here. And when you jack up the price of the room, because it includes what we get paid and the tax as well, it affects their decisions absolutely. To say that the gaming industry is not affected by the room tax is not an accurate statement, John.
It doesn't sound like it's a good time to raise the room tax right now, considering everything's going on.
Unfortunately, listen, when this all came up, we weren't in this situation.
Right.
This is a time anybody that raises any taxes now is purely psychotic. I mean, every time they touch a tax now, you can just increase the unemployment line at the Culinary Union and at every place else in this city. No, this is a bad time to raise taxes.
So what do you do then? Let's talk about that. You've talked for a long time, among others, about broadening the tax base, changing the tax base. A lot of business folks here, big business, have benefited from the gaming economy that Steve Wynn and others create, and they essentially pay nothing. I've been writing about this for almost 20 years, and nothing's happened. So now you're saying they'd be psychotic to even try that now, to broaden the tax base?
Well, you know, you're describing this catch-22.
Yeah.
The governor, the Senate, and the Assembly, Mrs. Buckley, Steve Horsford, the governor, they're in a terrible, terrible dilemma position. They're dead if they do and dead if they don't. You told me during the break, because I'm ignorant of these things, the size of the anticipated deficit.
$3 billion.
$1.5 billion a year. Well, first of all, I happen to know that the state budget of Nevada is a lean machine. It's not a thing stuffed with phony expenditures and puffy things. It is true that state employees get paid more in terms of being secretaries and everything than all the private industry. Why, the salaries at the county commission offices are over the top for salaries. I mean, they're outrageous, and the benefits. But they are what they are. And the leaders of our democracy in Nevada are now faced with almost unimaginably difficult situation. One thing is for sure, if the answer is revenue instead of cuts, or maybe a combination of both.
Has to be combinations, what people are saying.
Then the tax should be spread as evenly as possible so that any one sector gets less of an impact than is absolutely necessary.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to find out how you do that, and we'll talk a little bit more about the tax system in Nevada, and we'll talk about Mr. Wynn's feelings about the president and what he had to say and how he's doing so far. Back in a moment.